Alrighty, guys, Day Daddy here. Thanks for joining me today. We are going to start part 8 of our Home Lab server setup series. And today, the main focus is going to be making sure that we can access our server from anywhere in the world. Because if you're like me, you want to be able to access and use your server from anywhere. And for me, whether I'm at class or traveling or whatever, I want to be able to get into my server to check on experiments, to you know, view or do or make whatever changes that I want to make. So to do that, I mean, it might sound simple, but to do that, we have to understand a few things about networking. So this little diagram I drew up, your server is sitting behind your home network. So basically, if you draw, let's draw this. So basically, your home network is here, and you're going to have other devices that are connected to your router, some other computer, all of your mobile devices, some phone or tablet or whatever. But the idea is, all of those devices are behind this router, and they're on their own subnet. So they have their own what are called private IP addresses. This 192.168. These are private IP addresses. So if you try to SSH into this IP address from somewhere outside or external to this network, you will not be able to find it. So it has to do with something called NATing, which I don't really want to get into too much in this video, but basically NATing and port forwarding are similar. But the idea is that we're having traffic come in, or we're having a request to SSH come in from the internet, the broader internet. Okay, and let's just say, for example, this is our router's IP address, or our public IP address, which is not mine, but it's just one that I just picked for example. But basically, what we want to do is we want to assign, like we can SSH into the router's IP address, but on a particular port. And then what we can do is we can map or assign a link between this port, so this port that's not really being used on the router, 60,000.0.0.1, and then we can map that to port 22 on our server, which is what we actually want to access. So what that's going to look like is we're going to make requests, or we're going to SSH from or into this IP address on this port, and then the router is going to make a map, or something that's called a NAT table, which will map this external port to this internal port, and the internal IP address that's associated. So there are a lot of videos, I'm sure, out there that will explain this in more detail. But the idea is we're going in through the external port on the external IP, and we're mapping that to an internal IP on an internal port. So in doing so, we can SSH into this and connect to this. So I hope this kind of gives a good broad overview of what we're trying to do. And then the way that we actually do that is you need to access your router. So a lot of times they have a web interface, especially some of the newer ones now have apps. Like, for example, I use a Deco mesh router in my house, and I am able to interact with that via an app on my phone, which I don't love as much as the web. But anyway, point is, figure out how to do that, and then go look for port forwarding or NATing. It's going to be something like that. And then you can assign the external port to be whatever you want, any free port, and you need to map that to the internal IP address associated with whatever your device is that you're interested in this case, be our server, and then port 22. Because we want to SSH, but this could be applied to any other thing. Like if you wanted to use VNC, or you wanted to use, for example, if you had a database that you wanted to access on a particular port, you could do all of those things as well. So anyway, I'm gonna finish up this part, and we're gonna hop into the app, and I'm gonna show you what it looks like on the app. Won't be the same for you most likely, but it just kind of gave you an idea of what to look for. So see you in the next part. All right, so here we are at the front page of the app where we can see everything. We're going to navigate through to the advanced features, go to NAT forwarding, and then port forwarding, and then I've already set everything up. So as you can see, I set the internal port to 22, external port to 60001, and the internal IP matches with TCP and UDP for the protocols. And that's it. That's how we set it up on the app. All right, guys, now that I got that set up on the router side, we're going to see if we can SSH in via our external IP address. Okay, so the first part of this command is going to be SSH, obviously, and then we need to use our identity file, or we need to specify the file to our SSH key. If you don't have this and you're just using a password, then you don't need to worry about this part. But we're going to specify home directory, not SSH, and SDK Ubuntu 2204. And then we need to specify the port, so we just assigned it to 6001 for the external port. And then my IP address, or sorry, my user is SDK, and then I need the IP address. So you can do a couple of things here. You can check your IP address with something like ipconfig /all, or some similar command on Windows to list your NICs and all of the information associated. Or probably easier is just type "what's my IP" in Google, and it will come up and literally just tell you your public IP address. So that's what I did. So I'm gonna go ahead and paste in my IP address, and then I'm going to enter, and boom, there we go. I am connected to SDK at SDK Ubuntu 2204, which is my server. So that's all we really need to do, and you are now able to access your server from anywhere in the world. A few notes here. Make sure before you do this, before you open up this port forwarding and basically expose yourself to the broader internet, please make sure that you have properly configured all of your security settings, including your firewall, and enable some kind of SSH keys, or some level of security to make sure that you are safe. So that's all, and I actually have videos for both of those in this associated playlist, so check those out if you're interested. I'll also leave links for those in the description. Thanks again, guys. Appreciate you watching. Alrighty, guys, that about does it for today. If you like the content, please consider giving me a like and a subscribe so I can continue to grow and produce better and better content for you. And if you really like the content, you might even consider buying me a coffee, and the information for how to do that will be in the video description. If none of that sounds good, at least just give me some feedback in the comments. Let me know how I'm doing, if anything's unclear, or if there are things that I can improve on. But above all, guys, thanks again. Appreciate you watching, and have a great rest of the day.